All right, we're live. Welcome to another show of SBPh Live, and we are your hosts. I'm Soy.
I'm Clint.
And I'm Marlon.
All right. But before anything else, we would like to thank Variable Play for letting us use the current setup we have right now. So for you guys at the Variable Play, VP, saludo po kami sa inyo. We are so excited for some major developments. The show, which I mean, they are still being refined. Some of the policies and some of the projects. So we really can't really delve into that details right now. But definitely good things and hopefully better things are coming our way. All thanks to you guys. And of course, the fans, the audience. Thank you guys. Maraming salamat sa inyo. Lahat to para sa inyo. And just keep on watching. Just keep on supporting us. Thank you.
Right, so good things are coming, so look out for that. But as promised, we're going to give you a night of enchantment, courtesy of our very special guest, streaming all the way from Australia. Our guest is a well-known YouTuber, entrepreneur, an awesome family man, and the creator of the board game, Engkanto.
Kaya mga kaibigan, nandito na si Dwaine Woolley.
Dwaine Woolley!
Hey guys! Magandang gabi! Mayang gabi sa mga bistak liha.
Yeah, guys, if you're, curious why Dwaine is really talking Bisaya, because he really knows how to speak Bisaya.
Yes, dili ko mailad.
Also, and a fun fact, for the Solo Board Gamers, he's also a member of our group, Solo Board Gamers Philippines, so you can see him there post some his playthroughs, or yeah. So thanks for joining us here, Dwaine. How are things going? Or going with you?
Yeah, great. Buhay pa naman ako. Buhay na buhay. Ayos naman yung situation namin dito. Nandito ako sa Australia.
How's your family? Yeah, how's Shanta and the Nacro?
Shanta is adapting to Australia na. And it's good for Nitro to be here because we can go outside. We can, show him different places around Australia. Hindi masyadong nakakatakot yung COVID dito kasi parang it's under control. So yun,
that's nice.
Bumalik na ang kalayaan, char.
Nga pala, Happy Independence Day, Ngayon, at least here in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, Philippine Independence Day today, Saturday.
Yes, it is June 12th. Tama.
You're ahead of us in 2 hours ahead of us, in Australian time.
Yep. Yeah, so it's actually 11 p.m. na dito.
I see.
It's very late.
Yes.
Recently, Netflix released a new animation entitled Trece. I don't know if you have already watched it.
Yeah. Napanood ko na yung first 2 episodes.
Talaga? Yeah, that's good. Ako rin, kagabi yata napanood ko.
Natapos ko na rin yun.
Right.
Kaya na-excite na ako sa Engkanto.
Here in Manila. Yeah. It was a hit not only because it was created by homegrown talents, pero kasi it was mainly due to the nature and the native lore, pertaining to the mystical powers and mythological creatures of all sorts. And similarly, the board game you designed, which is Engkanto, embodies the same spectrum of Filipino mythology, right?
Yes, correct.
All right.
Yeah, so Engkanto was inspired by Filipino mythology. Obviously, it's the whole theme of the board game. When I first went to the Philippines, it was 2011, and nakatira ako sa Leyte tsaka Samar. So natuto akong magwaray tsaka Bisaya, and so I got to communicate with a lot of the locals there in their native language, and a lot of people would tell me about these creatures called Engkanto, enchanted beings. People would tell me they saw a tikbalang, they saw iba kasi yung mga pangalan ng mga Engkanto dun sa Leyte. Like a capre is an agta, and they would explain to me what these creatures do, and I was fascinated, and I just heard all these really creepy stories about these Engkanto, and it kind of made my imagination run wild, and I was just fascinated by it. I loved it so much that eventually I decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make a game based on Filipino folklore. So
Cool,
Oh,
cool.
so for
Siguro
people who
maganda rin, no?
are well, for people who are clueless what we are talking about, Encanto, why don't we show them the
Uh-huh.
trailer? We prepared a
sige.
trailer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So here you
nice,
go.
nice. Yes.
Encanto trailer.
The island of Samar, a cursed place where the Engkanto dwell. People from the villages have gone missing, taken by these enchanted beings. Renowned heroes must rise to the challenge. They must travel across the Visayas region to the island of Samar. They will face beasts on their journey. Now go, find the taken, and bring them home.
Awesome trailer.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Grabe. Ganda.
Maraming
Parang
salamat,
movie,
guys.
ah.
Yeah. So yeah, Encanto is a Filipino mythology inspired board game. It was live back in 2020. It was
Yep.
successfully funded. Wait, I'm in the updates. Let me show you the campaign just a little bit. So it's a an adventure tabletop game set in pre-colonial Philippines and is based on Philippine folklore. Features Filipino mythological beasts and war heroes, and it's 1 to 4 players, so it's good for us solo gamers and for those also family gamers. So it's up to 4 players. It has miniatures, as you can see, awesome artwork.
Yep.
It has miniatures. You can get
Maraming
it painted.
miniatures.
A lot, right? It says here how many? 33 miniatures.
Ganda.
It includes Capre, Tikbalang, Manananggal, Duende, Shokoy, and those mythological creatures. So we have here Lapu-Lapu. He's a hero, right? We have some wonderful cards here. Good art. We have a board, of course. So it's a full-blown board game. It's just not a card game. So we have here a few photos of the game. So yeah, awesome. If you want to follow the updates, you can check out this Kickstarter page of it. You can see the updates. We have 12 updates
Mhm.
now, and Dwayne updates that regularly, right, Dwayne?
Yep,
So-
correct. Yep.
All right.
Guys,
So check it out.
Yeah, before we proceed, I'd just like to greet some of our friends here, particularly in Variable Play. I think they're watching right now. Denmark, hi, and Ron.
Hi.
Also, our
Thank you.
very
for
good friend,
watching.
Mars Ryan, is also watching right now. Ivan, hi. Yeah, the Jermaine, Johnsy. Oh, welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to the show. And we're going to learn more about Encanto and, of course, Dwayne, our special guest for tonight. All right, so
Okay.
let's just jump right into it, no? First question.
All right. Oh, so, yeah.
It's
Let's
going
go to the
to go
questions now.
first.
I've been
All right.
very curious about this one, but let me change the format just quickly.
Sure.
So, oh, why me? All right, it's you. You're the star of the show, not me.
Ako na ang bida. Wow.
Oh yes, sir. All right, so I've been curious about this one. How was the experience for you as an independent creator to start a Kickstarter campaign for a game centered around Filipino culture, being Australian? And then it would be great if you can share a lesson you've learned, just maybe one lesson you've learned from the experience, so that people who wants to follow suit can get some advice from you.
Yeah, sure. So I used to make board games when I was younger, 12, 13, 14 years old. I made a lot of different board games just because I love board games so much. And there's this one board game I made which has always been my favorite. And it's similar to Dungeons and Dragons. It's also a mix of Space Crusade, the old Warhammer board game, a mix of Hero Quest. It's just inspiration from different board games that I had played. And so anyway, I stopped making board games when I was about 15. And, I kind of went through my teenage years, I eventually went to the Philippines, and as I said earlier, I learned about Filipino folklore through the natives that lived in Leyte and Samar, and it really fascinated me. It blew my mind. I got back into board gaming, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna look at the old board game I made that was my favorite when I was younger, and I'm going to turn it into a Filipino mythology themed game. And when I played through my old board game, I realized maraming flaws. I was only like 13 when I made the game. So, marami siyang flaws and that I needed to clean up. So I cleaned up those flaws, play tested it with my wife, play tested it with some of my friends back in Manila until I had made a really freaking cool game. All I needed to do was, chuck a bit of Filipino mythology in it and just turn it into a Filipino mythology board game. I see in the comment section there, Mars Ryan, how is this similar to Trece? So Trece is a modern version, of Filipino mythology. With Engkanto, I wouldn't say it's kind of, a similar theme to Trece, but it's pre-colonial Philippines. So this is based in the time before the Spanish arrived in the Philippines. So it's, after playing through the game, squashing all the bugs and, getting rid of all the, the things that didn't make sense in the game, or the things that were unbalanced. I've come up with a really cool game that, I love playing through by myself. My wife and I have played it a couple of times, and that was the origin of Engkanto, the board game. That's how it came to be.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's nice.
Awesome.
Marlon, I think you have a question for
Marlon,
Dwaine.
why don't you shoot your question?
Yung ano yung inspirasyon nyo sa paggawa ng Engkanto?
All right.
Yung inspiration ko was, parang wala akong masyadong nakikitang game based on Filipino mythology. There are a few, pero konti lang talaga, like sobrang kulang, and they're not very well known either. And I've had a look at those games, and I thought, well, it would be really cool to make a Dungeons and Dragons kind of board game based on Filipino mythology, with miniatures, with cards that tell the story as you progress, with languages you can learn. So in Engkanto, I speak 3 Filipino languages, which are Tagalog, Bisaya, and Waray. And so what I wanted to do was incorporate language into the board game as well. So your character can actually learn languages as you progress through the game. So you choose your starting language. It could be Tagalog, Bisaya. It could be Ilocano, Hiligaynon. You choose your first language, and as you progress and meet NPCs and things like that in the game, you can start learning new languages. And so it's a very character building game, strength and power acquiring game. And I mean, in answer to your question, Marlon, yung inspiration ko was, Filipino mythology talaga. Yun yung naka-inspire sa akin to finish my old board game I made when I was 14. So,
Nice.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Nice to know.
It's funny, Yeah, you mentioned about playtest, when you designed the board game. I mean the Engkanto, and you called out some friends and family members to playtest the game. Now, it was also mentioned in a Kickstarter campaign that Engkanto underwent a series of playtests to the point of making sure that you squashed all the bugs.
yes.
And I guess my question is, how exactly rigorous were the playtests, and what are the kinds of group that participated in it?
So the playtesting side of making the board game was the most frustrating, I think, because you're not playing the game to enjoy it and have fun. we're playing the game to find what's wrong with it. So we're playing the game to make sure that everything makes sense and everything is balanced.
Right.
So yeah, we played the game many times over. I played it by myself over and over and over, for hours and hours and hours. And sometimes nagsawa na ako sa sa play testing, so I needed to step back and take a break. But yeah, it was the most frustrating thing was the cards, changing the cards all the time. And then, eventually I stopped printing the cards. I just wrote, down a card on a piece of paper and, put it in a
That's
deck.
the best way to do it.
Para mabilis lang, no? So eventually I was comfortable with the decks of cards. Eventually I was like, okay, I think eto na yun. I think, I had to develop the mentality na walang board game na perfect. All right, I cannot make this board game perfect. It will never be perfect. It just has to be good enough. Ganon lang yung attitude ko. So yeah, the game got to a point where it was like, okay na, masaya na. It made sense. It was fun to play. It was a good adventure. You could maramdaman talaga yung adventure habang naglalaro ka. So yeah, I was comfortable with that, and I play tested it more on just me, and then also I wanted a group of people to play test it too. So we did that a few times with my wife and some of my friends in Manila. One of them was Greg Hawkins, siya yung escort sa It's Showtime, escort ni Vice Ganda, dating escort. Yeah. So he was a big help in playtesting the game with me kasi siya, Dungeons and Dragons fan din siya. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. I'm just reading the comments here from
close to D&D.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. What's that, Clint?
So you would say that this is a bit close to D&D in terms of game mechanics and experience?
Yeah, it's kind of like D&D thrown into a board game. So it's not so much you have to create your character. You can just choose your character and then you just add attributes to your character, like kung anong deity ang sinasambahan niya, you choose that as well. You choose his special ability, their starting weapon, things like that. So it's easier to play than Dungeons and Dragons. It's much easier to understand as well. But yeah, in terms of the adventure and acquiring abilities, power, items, and things like that, it is similar to Dungeons and Dragons and Hero Quest, I think. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna read some of the comments here. From Chard Palma, glad there's a game as bold as this out there. Engkanto minis. That is awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Regarding the minis, how did you actually envision the design for the minis?
Oh yeah, so designing the minis was painful. So I've used Fiverr to design nearly the entire board game. Maraming freelancers sa Fiverr ang hinahire ko for the board game. So I had to find the right ones kasi minsan pumapalpak yung freelancer dun, especially when it comes to 3D sculpting, because it's a very hard thing to do and it's very expensive as well. Kasi syempre, it's a talent. It's a very rare talent, no? Mahirap talaga mag-sculpt. I've tried it before and grabe, it takes a lot of time. It takes years of practice to get it good. So I hired freelancers on Fiverr to do them, and then they sent me the model. I said, oh no, I want this fixed. I want the capre to be taller. I want the tikbalang to be more macho. Ganun. So I had to really describe it to them. I got pictures from Google of what a sigbin looks like, and then I sent it to the sculptor to say, okay, make something similar to this, but maybe tweak it this way. Ganun. So I really had to describe what I wanted. But in the end, I found a good set of sculptors. Isa sa mga sculptor na yan ay Filipino. He wants to remain anonymous though, kasi his boss will get angry at him if he does side projects. So he doesn't want his name mentioned.
All right. Just want to make a quick shout out to our friend Morgan Gonzalez. Hey, bro. The admin of
thanks for watching.
PH. And also, I promised my son that I'm going to make a shout out for him. Hi, John C. Pomorica. He said that was epic. All right.
Hi, John
Cool.
C. Here he is. Hi, John C. All right.
All right. So, next question.
I have a question now. Because I've been searching about you, the past week. I saw one of the articles in BureauAsia.com. You mentioned this is an
Yeah.
old design from your childhood that you
Yes.
just resurrected. So I want to know how different is it now compared to the first version that when you were a child? How different
Oh
is it?
yeah.
How did it
Grabe,
evolve?
it's sobrang iba na siya. Ibang-iba na siya. It's not the same game anymore. It's because as I'm playing through my old childhood board game, the first thing I thought was masyadong simple to. Like masyadong simple to, parang pambata. It's not adventurous enough. Like the concept was there, the adventure concept was there. It was a board game where nasa kakahuyan yung character mo. You've got a weapon, kailangan ka maghahanap ng iba't ibang weapons sa mapa. Okay, so there's different places on the map where you have to get to, and then you draw a weapon card to see what it is. And then, creatures start coming out later in the game, you have to fight them. But it was like sobrang simple. And then I was thinking, I've got to make this more epic. Like, the options are too limited. You need more options, so it feels more like an RPG adventure, diba? Yeah, so I've just seen a comment from Dwaine Galang. Dwaine din
Yeah.
pangalan niya. Hi, Dwaine. Yeah, so it's very different from the old board game. Yeah.
Well, I think regarding the research and development aspect of the game, Marlon mentioned a while ago that at the backstage, before you jumped right in the program. Marlon, what's that again?
Yung amount of research na, can you tell us more about it? Yung amount of research na yung kung paano ma-depict ng accurate yung Filipino folklore.
Yeah. So medyo mahirap po yun, Marlon, kasi parang iba't iba yung mythology sa iba't ibang province, no? So in Pampanga, the mythology is different to the Visayan mythology. They're similar pero iba din. So instead of just choosing one province's mythology, I decided to just combine them all. Lahat na lang. So kung napapanood nyo yung bagong show sa Netflix na 13, there's a lot of things that the writers have just made up themselves, like characters, mga pangalan, things that how creatures behave na wala sa Filipino mythology. Kasi maraming mga parang holes in the mythology, no? It's not really like walang
It's really up for interpretation.
Na nakasulat na this is the mythology, this is the law, ito yung batas ng Filipino mythology. Walang ganun. It depende din sa tao. Nung nakatira ko sa Leyte at Samar, iba't iba yung opinion ng tao kung nasaan yung Biringan City, kung anong behavior ng mga duwende, anong ginagawa nila. Like, so yeah, I just used the stories people told me in Leyte and Samar. And marami din akong information from the Aswang project. Maganda yung website nila, no? Yeah, they have a lot of good resources. So yeah, I did get a lot of info from there.
Oh, didn't know about this one. I might check it out.
Yeah, Aswang project. Yeah, it's a great website they've got.
Did you appear in some of the movies here in the Philippines, or?
Yeah,
no.
Yep, I've appeared in
really?
Beauty and the Bestie with my Skanda. I've appeared in mga teleserye din. Since I found you with Piolo Pascual.
Yeah, in Piolo Pascual.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah,
well, this might kind of be an off-topic question, but seriously, among the hosts, whom do you think that among the three of us is going to pass off as an actor here in the Philippines? No.
Depende kung gusto niyo na pangkilig na actor or
Parang hirap na hirap ka sumagot ah.
Masasaktan ka lang eh.
Gusto mo masaktan. So guys, no, me and Dwayne, we're just fooling around because we're both Bisaya. That's why we have something in common.
lagi. Ben Mark
Anyway,
thinks that was a great
back to the
question.
questions.
Ito na yung sagot. Guys, wala nang usapan. Ito na.
Sino ba yan? Maban nga yan sa grupo. Sino yan? Pangalan yan? Yung Mars Ryan. Notorious talaga yung Mars Ryan na yan eh.
Si Marlon, pang-action star to eh.
I think Ron has a question. Ano? Maganda itong question din ni Ron.
Yeah, a good question here. Let me pop it up on the screen. Yeah. So congrats on your game. It shows how much you love the stories from our country. In terms of the mechanics, what board games from your childhood that you think may have influenced your design style?
Yeah, in terms of mechanics, what board games from your childhood? Yeah, okay, so definitely Dungeons and Dragons. I was a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. Nung bata pa ako. Dungeons and Dragons, Space Crusade, and Hero Quest were my favorite games. So I think sa lahat ng board games na nilaro ko, that they were the three that really influenced the mechanics of the games I made when I was a kid. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, addict ako sa mga like adventure games. So, my solo games I have here are Gloomhaven, Castle Ravenloft, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, things like that. So I just love exploration, dungeon crawls. They're my favorite kind of board game. So, yeah, this is kind of a dungeon crawl type board game, I would say. With a heavy story. Yeah.
I see.
Awesome.
Yeah. I have a question, no, Dwayne. As a solo player, what can one expect in your solo design? How immersive and challenging can it be?
It is very. It's hard to make a board game. It's like mas mahirap. Akala ko madali, mahirap talaga. It's very hard to try and make the game work and be fun at the same time without sobrang daming mechanics na kailangan mong tandaan, no? Nakakainis maglaro ng board game na maraming mechanics, no? Like you always make mistakes when you play, and it can be very frustrating to play. So yeah, I try to make this game as simple but at the same time immersive and fun.
Sorry, I think
daw.
there's a noise in the background here. No? Let me just pause for 1 minute. No, guys, can you check the audio for a little while? Let me pop in the trailer.
The island of Samar, a cursed place where the Engkanto dwell. People from the villages have gone missing, taken by these enchanted beings. Renowned heroes must rise to the challenge. They must travel across the Visayas region to the island of Samar. They will face beasts on their journey. Now go, find the taken, and bring them home.
All right. Is there still an audio problem? All
Si
right,
Marlon pala.
si Marlon, yes. So fix mo muna, and then come back. All right, let's continue. So Dwayne, I'm curious. Is there you mentioned there's a solo rule for Engkanto, right? Is it soloable?
Tama
It's
po.
1 to 4. All right. Soi and I have been talking about this before. How immersive it is, and how the challenge, playing it solo, is it challenging enough? I mean, you think is it challenging enough?
I think it is very challenging, and I've set the mechanics up in a way that makes you have a lot of decisions you could make, and the wrong decision could be fatal. The right decision could put you in a very good position. So ganito po yung mechanics ng game. So the basic mechanics of the game is you
Awesome.
start on a map of the Philippines, and you have a marker. Okay, in this map of the Philippines, there are dot points. So there's a dot point in Panay, Negros, Cebu, Bohol, Leyte, Samar, Mayon Volcano, things like that. And each dot has its own map you play on. So, syempre, hindi mo kayang tapusin yung buong board game sa isang sitting lang. Kagaya ng Gloomhaven, no? You can't finish that in one day or one sitting, you know? So, you come back to the game. Yeah, you finish one map. So, for example, you start on Mount Mayon Volcano. You play that map. You record your stats at the end of the game. You come back again tomorrow to play it or another time. Kasi medyo malawak yung story, malaki yung board game. So when you play on a map, so for example, Mount Mayon Volcano, this is the map you're playing on. You start with your character on the board. You have a speed stat, which tells you how many squares you can move. So you can move, if your speed is 4, you can move 4 squares. On your turn, you can move, you can attack, you can search for an item, things like that. Or you can pray to your deity. At the start of the game, you'll choose your deity. It could be Hanan. It could be Apolaki, the sun god of war. There's maraming different deities you can choose from to worship as your character. Now, the board game, the map also has a sundial. So parang timeline, oras siya. So it starts on umaga. At the end of your turn, it will move to mid-morning, and then tanghali, and then mid-afternoon, then hapon. When it gets to gabi, that's when the Engkanto come out. So before the Engkanto come out, you need to search the map. You need to find as many items, weapons, resources as possible to defend yourself from the Engkanto. Now, your goal in every map is you have a starting point here, you have an end point here. Pero hindi pwedeng diretso sa end point kasi it's like a gate na naka-lock. Now, in order to unlock the gate, you need to find the key. So you will search the map, you'll find items, you'll find weapons, eventually you'll find the key, and then you need to get to the exit. During that time, obviously, dahil, the sundial is moving, eventually it will be nighttime, the Engkanto will come out, and you may have found the key, you may be okay, you may not have found the key, and you might be in trouble. So yeah, ganun po yung mechanics ng board game. My story din po siya, so when you step on a token, you could draw a story card. Depende po sa token na inaapakan mo. And then you'll meet NPCs. You may meet women in the forest that pretend to be human. Pag nighttime, they turn into manananggal. So yeah, there's lots of different stories you'll encounter in each map as well.
So in these stories, is there a decision point somewhere, like you choose this or choose this one? Like that?
Yes. Yep, correct. So yeah,
awesome.
you have options A or B. So do you want to do this or do you want to do that? You flip the card over, you read the choice that you made.
Yeah. I'm legit excited to get this game. Really,
Yeah,
it's my thing. I really like narrative adventure games. Adventure tabletop game. Yeah. Awesome.
I think nabanggit natin kanina before tayo nag-live, maraming nagtatanong bakit walang video playthrough. The reason for that is hindi pa tapos yung artwork sa board game, so medyo pangit pa yung prototype. It doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. So that's why I didn't want to make a video playthrough in case I get comments like, "Ay, ang pangit pala ng board game," and they don't come back to it again. So I want to wait until tapos na yung artwork, maganda na tingnan yung board game before I make a playthrough video. Yeah.
Understandable, because as an independent creator with not that much exposure, you have to take the attention through art, attention of the backers or the gamers. So that makes sense.
Very true.
I think at this point we are now taking questions from the live audience, and
All right.
I think first in line is
I will scroll the
Aaron.
comments. Let me
Yeah,
see. After
Aaron from
Ron, yeah,
Morgan.
this one.
Yeah.
Aaron Famorga. Do you have any plans in adding expansions in the future, like adding new heroes? and stuff?
Definitely. Definitely, yeah.
Alright.
So depending po sa success ng game, I definitely plan to make it much, much bigger. So in the basic edition of the game, you only play in Visayas region. Pero in the Bayani edition of the game, you play in Luzon and Visayas. There is no version where you play in Mindanao, Luzon, and Visayas pa. So that would be the end goal, to make a Mindanao expansion with more heroes, more creatures as well. Yeah, so definitely, kung maging successful yung game, 100%, I'll be adding some expansions.
Yes.
That is awesome. Nice. Great to know
Saya-saya
that.
ko talaga. All right. Next question.
Yeah, another question from Mars Ryan. Question: dahil madaming ang characters sa Philippine mythology, bakit si Lapu-Lapu ang character sa game? Bakit hindi si Lamang? Or yung isa pa na nasa isang province, nalimot ko na name niya. Hehehe.
So there's a lot of heroes, no? Maraming bayani sa Filipino mythology. Like, the story of Mount Mayon, Daragang Magayon, there's lots of different heroes, and, even Diwata that I could have used. When I was playtesting the game, na-realize ko na I think masyadong marami yung 5 players. Like, masyadong matagal yung wait time between your turn. So I think I had to limit it to 4 players na lang. So I chose Lapu-Lapu dahil he's a very iconic hero. Maraming nakakilala kay Lapu-Lapu. Si Lam hindi siya kasing sikat ni Lapu-Lapu. So Lapu-Lapu is just one of the characters you can play. You can play as 4 characters. They are Malakas and Maganda, Lapu-Lapu, and then Maria Makiling. So I chose them kasi parang sila yung pinaka-iconic ancient Filipino heroes. So in the expansions eventually, diba? In the expansions, we will release more characters like Lamang and others. So
Yes.
yeah.
All right.
Cool. We have another question here. Marlon. I think this is
Jeffrey De
playtest.
Guzman, sabi niya Marawi expansion.
All right. I think this is from Luvin. How many playtests before you finalize the game? If you can still remember the number of playtests.
How many playtesters? There was 5 of us, 5 different playtesters. Yeah, but it was more on me because it's a solo game. So I just wanted to use different playtesters to see how it felt playing with other people. As far as playtests go, hindi ko mabilang eh. Ang dami. Daming playtests. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and it's how long pala in development na ito? Or is it paputol-putol since when did you start?
Very much paputol-putol. I've been trying to design this game since 2019. Yeah, 2019 to about 2020 when we released the Kickstarter campaign. So about 1 year. Yeah, 1 year on and off, going back to the game, taking a break, going back, yeah.
But before you started, there is already an idea from your childhood. Is that
yes?
So you just continued, right? So,
tama, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So during the development of the game, it was during the pandemic. We had the pandemic situation here in the Philippines right now, and during the development, you were here in the Philippines when you developed the game, right?
Yes. Yep, nandiyan ako sa Pilipinas.
Was it quite a challenge before you went to Australia? Because the game wasn't even finished when you went back to Australia, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the game was finished in terms of mechanics and gameplay. But it was very ugly. It was a very ugly looking game. It's a little bit better ngayon, but it's still not complete. So when I came to Australia, the game was already, done in terms of mechanics. But in 2019, wala pang pandemic, so it was easier. During the lockdown, though, it made it a little bit harder to get creative kasi parang nakulong lang ako sa bahay palagi, no? So parang I developed like a bit of writer's block, I guess, during that time. Yeah, pero ngayon dito kami sa Australia, it's better that I can go and travel and explore and get out on my own sa labas, and I can think with a clear mind. So.
All right, I'm not sure if you can answer this now with the pandemic going on, but this one from Kenneth de la Cruz Santos, when will this be widely available for retailers here in the Philippines?
Yeah, that would be a dream come true if the game was, nasa stores like, gaming library and things like that sa Pilipinas. That would be a dream come true for me. Sa ngayon, I can't see that happening anytime soon. Yung plano namin, Kenneth, is we're making a website that you can go to and order the game, and it will be shipped to you. As far as getting it in stores, I'll have to wait hanggang babalik na kami sa Pilipinas, which won't be until the COVID situation is under control. Yeah, so sa ngayon, it will be online shipping, online orders only. Yeah.
I see. Another question.
Hi,
coming
Jake.
from my son. Oh, hi, Jake. Coming from my son, John C. Would you be filming yourself with friends or family, play testing the final output of the game?
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's a really important, like sobrang importante yun, no? That we have a gameplay video. Definitely need one. Yeah, I understand that. We definitely need one. So, yep, the answer is yes, definitely.
All right,
Yes,
all right.
and when I get my copy, I'm sure I will be doing an unboxing and
Of
unboxing
course.
A gameplay video.
yung bubuksan mo lang.
Also, I'm having
Oh,
a
I'm gonna
review.
paint the miniatures myself. So you've been painting your miniature, by the way. Dwayne, is painting the miniatures for all the game, right? Or all the game
All
that
the
has
Bayani editions, yeah.
Oh,
So you can see in the
Very cool.
updates of the Kickstarter, the updates there, he's painting the miniatures by himself. How many? Like 100 plus, right?
Oh,
What's
there's so many. Pag pinagsama-sama lahat, I need to paint 3,100 pataas. But I'm not
Wow.
doing all of that, huh? Okay.
Oh,
I've got freelancers doing it then. So I'm doing about, maybe 600 in total. And then freelancers are doing the rest. Yeah, kasi grabe, it would take me all year.
oh
to
yeah.
paint.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Another
I'm looking
question.
forward to painting my miniatures as well when it arrives. What's it? Sorry?
Yeah. Di ba doon sa Kickstarter campaign, we have this comment section, right? So, yeah, various comments were already being thrown at you. Of course, if you're going to have your own project, you can really assume different kinds of people, different kinds of folks are going to support your project, and some of them are really looking something particular in the said project. How do you actually handle those kinds of comments which are somewhat negative or
Yeah.
criticize your project? So how do you handle criticisms?
Sanay naman ako sa ganyan, Soy. Kasi
Oo nga eh.
YouTuber kami. And then, like, yeah, maraming negative comments. Maraming din magandang comments. Napansin ko for every one bad comment, there's always more good comments. Mas maraming good comments most of the time. So, yeah, sanay na ako sa criticism and ganon. Actually, naintindihan ko po yung criticism nung una. Kasi nung ni-release ko yung Kickstarter campaign, nung nag-launch ako, kulang na kulang talaga yung campaign. Kulang yung details, as in sobrang kulang. Yeah, I didn't realize at the time just how kulang it was when I released it. Until I looked at other Kickstarter campaigns. Sabi ko, oh yeah, my campaign needs more pictures, more information, more details. So yeah, naintindihan ko naman yung sinasabi nila. Yung maganda sa board game community is people they don't attack that much. That I think people generally want a game to be good, And yeah, so they just if they see a flaw in the game or they see something that they think is wrong with it, they'll just point it out, and that's okay. Some people are a bit aggressive about it, but at the end of the day, I just look at the reason for the comment. Bakit sila comment ng ganyan?
Yeah,
It's
correct.
and in the board game community, most of the time it's not because inggit sila. It's because they know what they're talking about. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And
so
they want,
I mean, it's fine.
yeah, and in a way, they're helping you improve the product that you're
Tama.
presenting them, right?
Tama.
So
Yeah, so I always say, don't take criticism destructively, take it constructively. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
ganda, no?
I think the feedback's coming from your supporters and also from those who are really concerned about the game are really, really important. No,
Yeah.
you have to
definitely.
really take that into consideration.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We have a
Right.
comment here from Aina Rogel. No, Lam Ang. No, would be a great expansion. His dog and rooster could be his spiritual animals,
Yes.
which will give him extra powers.
Yep, definitely. 100%.
Actually, that's really worth noting. No?
That's a good idea, actually. I'll have to take note of that.
So yeah,
Yeah, sure.
just this thing came out of my mind. Naisip ko lang bigla. After the success of this one, like maybe 2-3 years from now, no. Of course, you have expansions planned if it's successful. Or are you planning to make another game, like in a different setting, or is this just this is it? This is what I want to make, and this is what I want to continue making for the rest of my life. Or you want to make another one?
I would love to make other board games as well. I've got a ton of other ideas from my childhood that I could turn into board games. Yes, I would love to experiment with something like that. Sa ngayon, all my focus is on this and getting Engkanto released and making it as good as it can be.
Yeah, that's the main priority at the
sure
moment.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was mentioned earlier about if you have plans for putting it up in TTS in tabletop simulator for fans to experience it and to try it out. Did you have plans on putting it in digital form?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's maganda yung tanong na yan. Sorry, actually. Yeah, because digital is where it's at. Everyone has a phone. Everyone has apps on their phone. Board games like Descent are being turned into apps as well. You can play on your phone. Board games like the old Warlock of Firetop Mountain is now a game on Nintendo Switch. So I would love to make a digital version of Engkanto after the board game is released, definitely. And I think a digital version of the game would be amazing. It would be really cool, but that won't be until years in the future when I after the success of the game and when I figure out how to do that.
Yeah, it would be really quite challenging.
Definitely. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
I'd
most
need
board
another
games-
Kickstarter campaign to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Board games
What was
right
your
now
greatest
have
challenge?
companion
Sorry.
apps, no? Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying most board games right now have comes out with companion apps or a digital
Yes.
version together with a physical
True.
version. So
Yeah.
things are moving fast in terms of technology in our hobby. So
Definitely.
sorry, what is it? Go ahead.
What was the greatest challenge that you encountered, no, in making the design? Well, actually, not the design. More particular in the marketing part of the game. So how did you handle the marketing part, especially during this pandemic situation that we have right now?
Ano po, pagdating sa marketing, I did some Facebook ads and targeted, people who like board games, people who like Dungeons and Dragons, people who like Warhammer and things like that. Basta tabletop games. That's what I did for marketing. I spent, I think it was nearly $2,000 on marketing. Pero I think yung pinakamalakas na marketing was my YouTube channel and Facebook page. Dahil may following na kami, I could, endorse it to them. And syempre, hindi lahat ng followers ko ay mahilig sa board games. Pero I think a lot of my followers thought it was a really cool idea, like unique siya. And they got excited about it, and so they helped fund the campaign. Yeah, so I think being an influencer or a content creator really helped.
I
But I'm
think
sure that go ahead.
personally, you're handling this very well. I saw an update recently, I think 2 months ago or 3 months ago, that there is a financial problem with the Kickstarter. But as a backer, I'm not worried because you made sure that you're covering it. Nothing to worry. You still receive your game. I'm taking care of it. That's what you said. So I think you're really handling this campaign really well, despite these challenges that you are encountering. No?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, there's always unexpected, price rises and things. Ngayon, I'm using Australian manufacturers. Dati China yung ginagamit ko, pero mahirap na yung shipping from China, and so I just decided mas madali kung dito na lang sa Australia. When I was in the Philippines, nagpaprint ako ng mga miniatures sa Pilipinas, sa mga home businesses na nagpaprint ng 3D sculpted models.
3D printers,
3D printers. Ngayon sa Australia na lahat ng manufacturing will be dito, lahat ng printing, everything dito na. Para madali. Mas mahal, pero at least, I can see it, I can hold it in my hands.
I have a question here from Jeffrey. As someone who missed out on the KS, the best way to get it is on the website that you mentioned?
Correct. Yep. The website will be up. It will be called EngkantoBoardGame.com. Kung i-search mo ngayon, walang lumabas. Okay, it's still under construction. But yes, I'll be announcing that on the Kickstarter page and the updates on my YouTube channel, Facebook page. It'll be a big kaboom when it launches.
Dwaine, just a warning. Now, you mentioned the domain name. Now you have to purchase that. If you haven't purchased the domain name, someone else will buy it and sell it.
Oh, nice.
You have to buy it now.
But if that's not available, something similar to that. So,
just a question to follow that. No, will they be able to get everything that they can get in the Kickstarter, like the Bayani Pledge and the painted versions, or just the basic one?
I won't be doing the painted versions anymore kasi yun yung pinakamahirap, yun yung pinakamatagal. And to be honest, that's taking a long time to paint all the miniatures. So that was just a special thing para sa Kickstarter campaign. So moving forward, wala nang painted miniatures. Like sobrang mahal if I get freelancers to do it all the time. The board game will just become too expensive and too time consuming. Yeah, so, and I think karamihan sa mga tabletop gamers, they like to paint their own minis, no?
Oh, definitely, yes. It's part of the hobby. For some, it's part of the hobby.
Yeah.
Like if you get gray miniatures, you just can't stand playing it just gray plastic. You just have to put colors on it. Yeah. But for some, if they don't want to paint, they just throw it away, replace it with, tokens or cubes.
Yeah, true.
Perhaps the guys in Filipintados could also help us, give us some tips, regarding the painting miniatures. And Clint and I, we're both also part of that group.
Ah,
Those
nice.
Guys to painting
There's
miniatures.
a group called Filipintados. They specialize in. It's a community of tabletop painters, and you will get. They help one another with tips and how to do
Filipintados.
Yes.
Filipintados. Yeah.
And the members are called Tados.
Okay.
Mga Tados na yan eh.
At saka going back pala dun sa playtesting, I'm not sure if you're aware of the group Unpub. They're also a group of creators, designers of board games and all kinds of tabletop games. They also test play games for free. Actually, if you want to test play your game, you could ask their help also.
Oh yeah, for future plans. For your expansions or any changes that you need to do, you want to test it out, you can join that group on PubPH. They're very helpful. It's a local community as well. Yeah, I will send you the list of the groups we will send you. So
fantastic.
it will help you a lot. Yeah.
I
Um,
think some of the creators, or designers of 13 also came from that group.
Ah,
Or,
oh
I
yes,
talaga?
mean,
yes. It's the
small
admin.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talaga?
Mm.
the admin. Yeah,
Nicanor or something.
Si Nico. Yeah.
Balangay Entertainment. So yeah, it would be great if it would help you a lot if you sa future kapag gusto mo, they can help you out.
Mm.
For
Yeah, I'll
the
check it out.
viewers, if you have more questions, you can ask us now. We have we can just
Yep.
um
I think we could still have two more questions. So again, if you have more questions for Dwayne. Uh-huh.
yes.
Tsaka, singit ko lang.
Mm.
Go
Ah,
ahead.
kung kunyari nagpaplano ka, sir, ng expansion, pwede mo i-check tong libro na to.
Ano
Yung
yan?
Ano
Lost
pong libro na
Journal
yan?
of Alejandro Pardo.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Alejandro
What is it
Pardo.
about?
Sino po siya?
Ano siya? From the creators of 13.
Oh,
I
wow.
see.
Mm.
Nandito lahat yan, yung
About saan yung libro niyan, Marlon?
about sa Philippine folklore. Rituals.
Ah,
Okay.
cool. Yeah, awesome. Ah, ang galing ah.
Yan.
Nice.
So
Yan.
for yeah,
So,
for
saan
research
pwede bumili ng
characters.
libro na yan?
Saan nga
Sino
ba?
ba
I,
yung
Alam ko, dati kasi nabili ko to sa National Bookstore.
Ah, okay.
so it's easy to
Andyan
get.
lahat
Yeah.
ng
You could probably
lahat
order it online.
ng mga
Lahat ng mga
creatures.
Engkanto.
Awesome. You can
Ang
you can
galing.
visualize.
Ang ganda, no?
Oh, yeah.
Ang ganda.
That's
Oo.
nice,
Ito yung
nice.
favorite
You
ko,
for
yung
that.
Tiyanak. Yung Tiyanak. Ayan.
Ang galing. Alejandro
May-
Pardo. Okay, I'll check
May
that out.
tiyanak ba
Yeah,
sa
that's...
Engkanto?
Walang tiyanak sa Engkanto. Pero if ever we do an expansion, yeah, definitely. So the Engkanto you will encounter in the game, yung mga miniature, Kapre, Tikbalang, we have Shokoy,
Shokoy.
Manananggal, Sigbin, we have Makunawa, syempre, White Lady, sino pa, Duwende, nabanggit ko na ba yung Kapre?
I forgot.
Oo.
Yeah, nabanggit mo na yung Gigante.
Yeah, there's
Parang
two more there.
parang
Basta
such a
10.
good term, no?
Sampu yung ano.
I
Yeah.
remember looking at the cards there. I saw some cards that you put in there. Bawal umihi dito.
Yes.
It's like a very Filipino. You won't see that in any other game.
No,
Bawal
no.
umihi
Yeah.
dito. So it's very,
So
very
yung
Filipino.
theme ng board game is super Pinoy. Yeah, super
Yeah.
Pinoy. Like you can find yung mga items na makakuha nyo is things like balut. You can find pinya, buko. You can find there's a card na boodle fight that gives you benefits. Yeah, so things like that is very Filipino. Filipino ang dating.
Nice. So yeah,
Siguro one
look out
last
for that.
question, for Dwayne. Are you up for any collaboration? I mean, any group or any individual who wants to work with you for a certain project? Are you up to it?
Oh yeah, definitely open to ideas. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So hopefully, guys interested or other board game designers there.
Kung pwede lang sana.
Dwaine Woolley here.
Maganda sana. I think after I release the board game, I think it will get the attention of, people who like board games, people who like Philippine mythology, perhaps the people from 13. And then I think I'll get some, a lot of feedback about the game. And yeah, then I think doon magkakaroon ng mga future collaboration.
Nice. That's really awesome. All right.
Nagkataon lang itong episode natin about Engkanto, and then it's parang recently si 13 yung sa Netflix. So
Okay.
nagkataon medyo nag-connect kaya ang ganda rin ng mood natin ngayon eh. While watching 13, lagi ko naisip yung Engkanto, like pag dumating ito, ipe-paint ko tong tikbalang kasi nandun yung character dun eh, si Maliksi. So it's very nakatulong kumbaga. Exciting nga.
Correct.
All right, so yeah, at this point, I think that's all the time we have for now. In case some of your fans have more inquiries or simply want to get in touch with you, Dwaine, how can they reach you?
Okay, guys, you can reach me on Kickstarter via messages, or you can reach me sa Facebook page ko, sa Instagram ko. And that's just pangalan ko lang, nandyan sa screen, Dwaine Woolley. Kung i-search nyo sa Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, yep, nandun ako. You can also email me at dwaine.woolley@gmail.com if you have any questions.
All right. All right. So thank you so much, Dwaine, for being here. And guys, thank you for being us, for supporting and watching us. So maraming salamat, Dwaine. And mabuhay
Salamat
ka.
din. Mabuhay.
Very much.
Maraming salamat po.
Mabuhay.
Yes. Again, folks, our friend here, Dwaine Woolley. Woo!
Thank you po.
All right, guys. Bye. Thank you for
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
See you in the next episode,
with
guys.
Dwaine. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.